The Galaxy Council faltered. Their only plea was, "Don't involve Earth." Part 5. The days after the battle were strange and quiet. The human fleet remained near Station Kira, their ships floating peacefully among the debris of the Vorn Armada. Medical teams moved between vessels, helping the wounded. Engineers began repairing damaged systems. Soldiers rested after the longest fight of their lives. Ambassador Yuna had not slept since the battle ended. She spent her time watching the humans from the observation deck. She watched them laugh with each other. She watched them share meals. She watched them mourn the friends they had lost. They seemed so normal, so ordinary. Not like the monsters from the stories at all. Elder Taiho found her there on the third day. He moved slowly, his old body tired from the stress of recent events. He stood beside her and looked out at the human ships. "I was wrong," he said quietly. Yuna turned to look at him. "Elder, I was wrong about them. About the humans. I spent my whole life believing they were dangerous beasts that could not be trusted. I taught others to fear them. I helped write the laws that kept us apart." He shook his head slowly. "And when we needed help most, they came. They bled for us. They died for us. People they had never met." Yuna nodded. "I do not understand them either, but I am grateful." Taiho was silent for a moment. Then he said, "The Council has decided to invite the human commander to the Great Chamber. We wish to thank them properly. Will you translate?" "Of course," Yuna replied. Commander Somi arrived at Station Kira with Captain Minho at her side. They wore their dress uniforms, clean and pressed, despite the chaos of the past few days. Lieutenant Hyam came too, his arm in a sling from the injuries he suffered during his attack on the Vorn flagship. The Great Chamber was full. Every surviving council member was present. Representatives from all 12 civilizations sat in their seats, watching as the humans entered. Somi walked with her head high. She showed no fear, no uncertainty. Minho followed close behind, his eyes scanning the room with professional interest. Hyan tried to look confident, but Yuna noticed his hands shaking slightly. He was still young, still getting used to being a hero. Elder Taiho stood at the center of the chamber. He waited until the humans reached him, then bowed deeply. It was a gesture of respect that he had not shown to anyone in 50 years. "Commander Somi," he said through Yuna's translation, "on behalf of the Galaxy Council and all the civilizations we represent, I thank you. You have saved us from destruction. You have given us our lives back." Somi returned the bow. "We are honored to help, Elder. No thanks are necessary." Taiho straightened up. His eyes were wet with emotion. "I must ask you something. A question that has troubled me since the battle ended." "Please, ask anything. Why?" Taiho's voice cracked slightly. "Why did you come? We have avoided your people for 200 years. We feared you. We called you monsters. We refused to speak with you or trade with you. We treated you like dangerous animals. After all of that, why would you help us?" The chamber fell silent. Everyone wanted to hear the answer. Somi thought for a moment before responding. Her voice was calm and clear. "Elder, I will not pretend that we are perfect. Humans have done terrible things throughout our history. We have fought wars. We have destroyed. We have hurt each other in ways that I am not proud of. The stories you have heard about us are not entirely wrong." She paused, looking around the chamber at all the different species watching her. "But we have also learned something from all that suffering. We have learned that strength without compassion is meaningless. We have learned that power without purpose is empty. We have learned that the strongest thing a person can do is not to destroy, but to protect." Minho stepped forward. "When we received your message, Ambassador, there was no debate. There was no argument about whether we should help. Every person who heard your words had the same reaction. Someone needs help. "We must go." Lieutenant Hyan spoke up, his voice nervous but determined. "My grandmother used to tell me a story. She said that long ago, during one of our worst wars, a soldier found an enemy child alone in a destroyed city. The child was starving, scared. The soldier could have left the child there, could have ignored the crying. Instead, he picked up the child and carried them to safety. He fed them, protected them, even though they were enemies." Hyan looked at Taiho directly. "That is who we try to be, Elder. Not perfect, not always good, but trying. Always trying to be better than we were before." Taiho listened to these words. He thought about everything he had believed about humans, everything he had feared, and he realized that he had been looking at them all wrong. The humans were not monsters because they were violent. They were something far more complicated. They were violent because they cared too much. They fought so hard because they felt so deeply. Their greatest weakness and their greatest strength were the same thing: their hearts. "Commander Somi," Taiho said finally, "the Galaxy Council has discussed our future. We have made a decision that I never thought possible." Somi waited. "We would like to invite Earth to join the Council. Not as observers, not as outsiders, as full members with all the rights and responsibilities the position brings." Gasps spread through the chamber. Some representatives looked shocked. Others smiled. The galaxy was changing before their eyes. Somi smiled. A real smile, warm and genuine. "We would be honored, Elder. Truly honored." The ceremony that followed lasted for hours. Documents were signed. Promises were made. Hands of many shapes and sizes came together in gestures of friendship and peace. The galaxy that had been broken by the Vorn began to heal. Later that evening, Ambassador Yuna found Captain Minho alone on the observation deck. He was looking out at the stars, his face thoughtful. "Captain," she said, approaching carefully, "may I join you?" "Of course, Ambassador." They stood together in comfortable silence for a while. The stars sparkled around them, beautiful and eternal. "I still do not fully understand your people," Yuna admitted. "You are so different from us. So complicated." Minho laughed softly. "We do not fully understand ourselves most days, Ambassador. We are a mess of contradictions. We love and hate with equal passion. We build and destroy with the same hands. We are our own best friends and our own worst enemies. Yet you came to save us, yes." Minho turned to look at her. "Because in the end, that is what matters. Not the violence, not the wars. What matters is what we do when someone needs help. What matters is whether we answer when someone calls." Yuna thought about this. "Your people have a saying, yes? No one gets left behind?" Minho nodded. It started as a military phrase, but it became something more over the years. It became a promise. A promise that no matter how bad things get, no matter how dark the night becomes, someone will come. Someone will fight for you. Someone will bring you home. Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes again. She had cried more in the past week than in her entire life. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for keeping that promise." Minho placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Thank you for giving us the chance. For trusting us when you had every reason not to." They stood together watching the stars. Behind them, the sounds of celebration drifted from the station. Different species laughing together. Music from a dozen worlds mixing in the air. The beginning of something new. The Vorn threat was over. The galaxy had survived. And for the first time in 200 years, Earth was no longer alone. In the years that followed, the story of the battle spread across the galaxy. It became legend. It became history. Species that had never heard of Earth learned about the humans who came from nowhere to save civilizations they had never met. Some still feared the humans. Some still told stories about their violence and their wars. But now those stories had a different ending. Now they ended with a truth that the galaxy had learned the hard way. Humanity was not the threat everyone feared. Humanity was the answer no one expected. And in the darkness between stars, whenever someone felt alone and scared, they could look up and remember that somewhere out there, the humans were watching, ready to fight, ready to protect, ready to answer the call. No one gets left behind. Not anymore. Not ever again. The Galaxy Council faltered. Their only plea was, "Don't involve Earth." Part 4. The Vorn fleet arrived at exactly the time predicted. 1,000 ships moved through space like a swarm of hungry insects. Their commander, a massive creature called the Voice, sat at the center of the largest vessel. He had destroyed 14 civilizations. He had never known defeat. He expected this to be another easy victory. His sensors showed Station Kira ahead. He saw no defending fleet. No weapons pointed at his ships. Just a helpless station full of terrified aliens waiting to die. The Voice made a sound that his species used for laughter. "Another weak civilization," he said to his officers. "They have sent no one to fight us. Prepare the landing forces. We will take their resources and burn the rest." He did not see the human ships hiding in the asteroid field behind the station. He did not notice the fighters waiting in the darkness between rocks. He did not understand that the absence of a visible fleet was not weakness. It was a trap. Commander Somi watched the Vorn approach from her position in the asteroid field. Her fleet was completely silent. No signals. No engine glow. Nothing to reveal their presence. "Wait," she whispered to her officers. "Let them come closer." The Vorn fleet moved past the outer asteroids. They were confident, careless. Their weapons were pointed at the station, not at the rocks around them. "Wait," Somi said again. The Voice ordered his forward ships to begin the attack on the station. Energy beams shot through space, striking the station's shields. Ambassador Yuna and the council members watched in terror as their last protection began to fail. Somi watched her display. The Vorn were exactly where she wanted them. Their formation had spread out as they focused on the station. Their largest ships were exposed. "Now," she said, the asteroid field exploded with activity. Human ships emerged from hiding places like ghosts appearing from shadows. Fighter squadrons burst out from behind rocks, their engines screaming as they accelerated toward the enemy. Lieutenant Hyan led the first attack wave. He was young, only 25, but he was the best pilot in the Third Fleet. His squadron, called the Nighthawks, had never lost a battle. "All wings, follow me," Hyan commanded. "Target their engine sections. Make them stop moving, then take them apart piece by piece." His fighter dived toward the nearest Vorn cruiser. The enemy was huge, 10 times larger than his small ship. But Hyan was not afraid. He had trained for moments like this. He had dreamed of moments like this. His weapons fired. Plasma bolts struck the cruiser's engines. Explosions bloomed across the ship's hull. The cruiser began to spin, its propulsion systems damaged beyond repair. "One down," Hyan announced. "Hundreds to go. Keep moving, Hawks." The Vorn were confused. They had never faced an enemy like this. The human ships were small and fast. They moved in ways that seemed impossible. They attacked and disappeared, attacked and disappeared, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. The Voice roared in anger. "Find them! Destroy them!" But his officers could not find targets. The human ships were already gone, hiding behind asteroids, preparing for the next attack. Captain Minho brought the Hambit out of hiding. His destroyer was not as fast as the fighters, but it carried much heavier weapons. He positioned his ship behind a Vorn battleship and fired everything he had. The battleship's rear shields collapsed under the assault. Minho's crew cheered as the enemy vessel began to break apart. "Move to the next target," Minho ordered. "Do not stop. Do not slow down. Keep hitting them." The Hambit turned and raced toward another enemy ship. Behind them, the destroyed battleship exploded in a ball of fire. The battle spread across the entire sector. Human and Vorn ships fought in the asteroid field, around the station, in open space. Explosions lit up the darkness. Ships crashed into rocks. Debris filled the void. The Vorn began to panic. They had never lost a battle before. They did not know how to handle defeat. Some ships tried to retreat. Others fired wildly in all directions, hitting nothing. Their formation collapsed into chaos. On Station Kira, Ambassador Yuna watched with her mouth open. She could not believe what she was seeing. The humans were winning. The impossible was happening right before her eyes. How? Elder Taiho whispered beside her. How are they doing this? Yuna shook her head. She had no answer. She only knew that the monsters she had feared her entire life were now fighting to save her. The voice realized he was losing. Half his fleet was damaged or destroyed. The human ships showed no signs of slowing down. Every time he thought he had them trapped, they escaped and attacked from a different direction. He made a decision. He would destroy the station himself. If he could not win the battle, he would at least complete his mission. His flagship turned towards Station Kira. Its main weapon, a beam capable of destroying planets, began to charge. Somi saw what was happening. All ships, focus on the flagship. Stop that weapon. Every available human ship turned toward the voice's vessel. Fighters swarmed around it like angry bees. Destroyers fired their heaviest weapons. But the flagship was massive, and its shields held. The weapon continued to charge. Lieutenant Hyan made a choice. He turned his fighter toward the flagship's main weapon port. It was a small opening in the ship's armor, barely visible. But if he could hit it at exactly the right moment, he might be able to cause a chain reaction. Hyan, what are you doing? His wingman called out. That's a suicide run. Maybe, Hyan replied, but I can make the shot. Cover me. He pushed his fighter to maximum speed. The world around him blurred. Enemy fire passed by him, missing by centimeters. He focused only on the target ahead. The weapon was almost fully charged. In seconds, it would fire. Hyan released his missiles at the exact moment his targeting computer turned green. Then he pulled up hard, his fighter screaming in protest as he tried to escape the explosion. The missiles flew straight into the weapon port. They detonated inside the flagship, triggering a cascade of explosions that spread through the entire ship. The voice had one moment of shock before his vessel tore itself apart from the inside. Hyan's fighter was caught in the blast wave. His ship spun wildly, systems failing, alarms screaming. He closed his eyes and waited for the end. Then he felt someone grab his ship with a tractor beam. He opened his eyes and saw the Hambit pulling him to safety. Captain Minho's voice came through his radio. Nice shooting, Lieutenant. Don't think you're getting out of the paperwork for this. Hyan laughed weakly. Understood, Captain. With their leader dead and their flagship destroyed, the remaining Vorn ships fled. They scattered in all directions, running from the battle as fast as their damaged engines could carry them. Commander Somi watched them go. Let them run, she ordered. They will tell others what happened here. They will spread the word. Earth protects its friends. The battle was over. The humans had won. On Station Kira, the council members stood in shocked silence. They had expected to die today. Instead, they had witnessed something they would never forget. Ambassador Yuna stared out at the human fleet. Tears ran down her face. Not tears of fear this time. Tears of something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. The Galaxy Council faltered. Their only plea was, "Don't involve Earth." Part 3. The message arrived at Earth Defense Station 7 on a quiet Tuesday morning. Lieutenant Minji was drinking her third cup of coffee when the alert appeared on her screen. She almost ignored it. They received strange signals all the time. Space was full of noise, but something about this one was different. The signal was clear, organized, unmistakably artificial. Minji set down her coffee and leaned closer to her monitor. Her eyes widened as the translation software began working on the message. When the words appeared on her screen, she stopped breathing for a moment. "Commander," she called out, her voice shaking. "You need to see this." Commander Somi was in her office reviewing maintenance reports when Minji's call came through. She was a tall woman with short black hair and calm eyes. Nothing usually surprised her. She had served in the military for 20 years. She had seen wars and disasters and everything in between. But when she read the message from Ambassador Yuna, even she felt her heart beat faster. "Get me a secure line to Fleet Command," she ordered. Now, within 2 hours, the message had reached the highest levels of Earth's government. Generals gathered in conference rooms. Politicians argued in private chambers. Scientists analyzed every part of the signal, confirming again and again that it was real. The aliens were real, and they needed help. Captain Minho received his orders aboard the destroyer Hambit. He was in the middle of a training exercise when the priority message arrived. His crew watched as he read it, their faces curious and confused. Minho was a young captain, only 32 years old, but he had earned his position through skill and courage. He had led his ship through the border conflict 5 years ago. He had saved a civilian transport from pirates last spring. His crew trusted him completely. "Change of plans," he announced to his crew. "We have new orders. Prepare for long-range jump." His second officer, a serious man named Junho, approached him quietly. "Captain, what is happening?" "These coordinates are outside any territory we know." Minho handed him a data tablet with the message. Junho read it twice, his face growing more shocked with each line. "Aliens," Junho whispered. "Real aliens. And they're asking us for help?" "Not just asking," Minho said. "Begging. Whatever this Vorn is, it has destroyed their entire fleet. 12 civilizations, Junho. 12. And they're coming to us." The Hambit was not alone. Commander Somi had mobilized the third fleet, 15 destroyers, 8 carriers, 40 fighter squadrons. It was the largest military movement in Earth's history. Somi stood on the bridge of the flagship, the carrier Type Young. Around her, officers worked quickly and efficiently. They had trained for war their entire careers. They had never expected it would be a war like this. "All ships report ready," announced her communications officer. Somi nodded. She picked up the fleet-wide communicator and spoke clearly. "This is Commander Somi to all vessels. In a few minutes, we will jump to coordinates outside our known space. We will meet species we have never encountered before. Some of them fear us. Some of them have asked for our help." She paused, looking out at the stars. "We are soldiers. We are trained to fight. But today, we are not fighting for Earth. We are not fighting for territory or resources or pride. We are fighting for people we have never met. People who are scared and desperate. People who have no one else to turn to." The bridge was silent. Every officer listened carefully. "I don't know what we will find out there," Somi continued. "I don't know if we can win, but I know this. If someone calls for help, and we have the power to answer, then we must answer. That is who we are. That is what it means to be human." She put down the communicator. "Begin jump sequence." The third fleet disappeared from Earth space in a flash of light. Back on Station Kira, Ambassador Yuna had given up hope. 2 days had passed since she sent her message. There had been no response. No sign that anyone on Earth had even heard her plea. The Vorn were closer now. Their ships appeared on long-range scanners as a dark mass moving steadily toward the station. In 12 hours, they would arrive. In 12 hours, everything would end. Una sat in the observation deck, watching the stars. She thought about her home world, about her family, about all the things she would never see again. Then the alarm started. Duri burst into the room, his face a mix of terror and confusion. "Ambassador! Ships! Ships are coming!" Una's heart sank. "The Vorn? They are early?" "No." Duri grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the window. "Look!" Una looked. At first, she saw nothing but darkness. Then, one by one, lights began to appear. Ships materializing out of nowhere. But these were not Vorn ships. These ships were different, sleek, powerful. Their hulls gleamed with polished metal. Their engines burned with blue fire. And on every ship, painted clearly on the side, was a symbol Una recognized from her studies. A blue planet with green continents. Earth. The humans had come. Una ran to the communications center. Her hand shook as she activated the receiver. A voice came through, clear and strong. "Galaxy Council Station. This is Captain Minho of the Earth vessel Hambit. We received your message. We are here to help." Una felt tears running down her face. She could barely speak. "Captain, we did not think anyone would come. We thought we were alone." There was a pause. Then Minho's voice came again, softer this time. "Ambassador, where I come from, we have a saying. No one gets left behind. Now, tell us everything you know about these Vorn. We have work to do." The Third Fleet spread out around Station Kira. Commander Somi studied the tactical displays, learning everything she could about the enemy. The Vorn were powerful. Their ships were large. Their weapons were advanced. But Somi had fought against powerful enemies before. She had learned long ago that size and strength were not everything. She called a meeting with her senior officers. Captain Minho joined via hologram, his face serious and focused. "The aliens say the Vorn cannot be stopped," said one officer. "Their entire combined fleet was destroyed." "Then we will not fight the way they fought," Somi replied. "The Council fleet attacked head-on. They met the Vorn in open battle. We will not make that mistake." Minho leaned forward. "What do you suggest, Commander?" Somi smiled slightly. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator preparing to hunt. The Vorn are used to enemies who surrender or run. They have never faced an enemy that fights dirty. They have never faced an enemy that refuses to die. They have never faced humans. She pointed at the tactical display. "We will not meet them in open space. We will let them come to us. We will hide among the asteroids. We will strike from the shadows. We will make them bleed for every inch of space." The officers nodded. This was the kind of fighting they understood. "One more thing," Somi added. "I want every pilot, every soldier, every person on these ships to understand something. The aliens are watching us. They expect us to fail. They think we are monsters who only know how to destroy. Let us show them what humans really are." She stood up straighter. "We are not just destroyers. We are protectors. And today, we protect." The fleet began moving into position. In the distance, the Vorn approached, unaware of what waited for them. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The Galaxy Council faltered. Their only plea was, "Don't involve Earth." Part 1. The stars had always been peaceful. For 10,000 years, the Galaxy Council kept order among the stars. They built trade routes. They solved conflicts. They made rules that everyone followed. Life was good for the 12 great civilizations that called this part of space home. Ambassador Una stood at the observation deck of Station Kira, watching cargo ships move slowly between the stars. She was tired. The meeting had gone on for 6 hours. trade disputes, border arguments, the usual boring matters that kept the galaxy running smoothly. Her blue skin reflected the starlight, and her 4 eyes blinked slowly as she prepared to return to her quarters. Then the first warning came. A young officer named Duri ran toward her. His face was pale. His hand shook as he held out a data tablet. "Ambassador," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "Something is coming." Yuna took the tablet. She read the message 3 times. Each time, her heart beat faster. The Vorn. She had heard stories about them. Everyone had. They lived far beyond the known galaxy. They took what they wanted. They destroyed what they did not need. But they had never come this close before. "How many ships?" she asked. Duri swallowed hard. "We cannot count them all. Thousands, maybe more." The Vorn Armada appeared at the edge of the Orion sector like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. Their ships were massive, black metal covered in sharp edges. They moved in perfect formation, silent and terrible. The first planet to fall was Nara Prime. It was a small world, home to the gentle Lumi people. They had no army. They had no weapons. They believed in peace above all things. The Vorn gave them no warning. They simply landed, took what resources they wanted, and burned everything else. Yuna received the distress signal. She heard the screams. She heard the Lumi begging for help. Then the signal went dead. 3 more planets fell in the first week. The Galaxy Council held emergency meetings. They sent their combined fleet to stop the invasion. 12 civilizations gathered their best ships and their bravest soldiers. Admiral Kang, the oldest and wisest military commander in the sector, led them into battle. The battle lasted 4 hours. Yuna watched the reports come in from her station. Ship after ship went dark. Admiral Kang's flagship, the great vessel called Star of Dawn, was torn apart in the first hour. The combined fleet was not just defeated. It was destroyed. "This is impossible," said Council Member Taiho. He was an old male with gray scales and tired eyes. He had served on the council for 50 years. He had never seen anything like this. Our fleet was the strongest in the galaxy. How could they fall so quickly? No one had an answer. The Vorn continued their advance. They did not stop to negotiate. They did not ask for surrender. They simply moved from world to world, taking and destroying. Their weapons were beyond anything the Council had ever seen. Their ships seemed to heal themselves after taking damage. Their soldiers felt no fear and showed no mercy. Yuna worked day and night. She sent messages to every corner of the galaxy. She begged for help. She called in every favor. She promised anything and everything to anyone who would listen. But the responses were all the same. "We cannot help. We are not strong enough. There is nothing we can do." On the 9th day, the Vorn reached the Siori system. It was home to the Keld, a proud warrior species that had protected the sector for generations. If anyone could slow the Vorn, it would be them. The Keld fought with everything they had. Their general, a fierce female named Hana, led her forces in a desperate defense of their homeworld. Yuna listened to the battle communications. She heard Hana's voice, strong and confident at first, slowly become more desperate as the hours passed. "They have too many," Hana reported. "We are holding the northern continent, but they have broken through everywhere else. Our weapons barely scratch their armor. We need help. Someone, please, help us." Yuna felt tears on her face. She could do nothing but listen. The Keld homeworld fell on the 10th day. General Hannah's final message was simple. "Tell the Council. Tell them to run. Nothing can stop these creatures." The Galaxy Council gathered in the Great Chamber. The mood was dark. Fear hung in the air like smoke. Representatives from the surviving civilizations sat in their seats, but many chairs were now empty. Those civilizations no longer existed. Elder Taiho stood at the center of the chamber. His voice was heavy with grief. We have lost 6 worlds. Our fleet is gone. We have no more ships to send. No more soldiers to fight. The Vorn will reach this station in 3 days. A young representative named Jisoo stood up. Her voice trembled, but she spoke anyway. What about the other sectors? The ones beyond our borders? Perhaps they can help. Taiho shook his head slowly. We have contacted everyone we know. The answer is always the same. They fear the Vorn too much. They will not risk their own people. Silence filled the chamber. Then someone spoke from the back. An old translator named Bora, who usually sat quietly and said nothing. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but everyone heard her. There is one more option. Taiho turned to look at her. What option? We have tried everything. Bora stood up slowly. Her hands clutched a worn data tablet. There is a planet. A small world at the far edge of the sector. It is not part of the council. We do not trade with them. We do not speak to them. We have avoided them for good reason. Taiho's face became pale. No, absolutely not. What planet? Jisoo asked. She was too young to understand. Too young to know the stories. Bora looked at the young representative. Her eyes were sad and tired. A planet called Earth. The chamber erupted in frightened whispers. Some representatives stood up and left immediately. Others began arguing loudly. The word passed from mouth to mouth like a curse. Earth, the forbidden world. The planet of madness. Yun watched the chaos around her. She had heard the stories too. Everyone had. Stories about the humans of Earth. Stories about their wars. Their violence. Their endless hunger for conflict. The Galaxy Council had decided long ago to leave Earth alone. To never contact them. To pretend they did not exist. But now, with the Vorn coming closer every hour, Yuna wondered if they had any choice left. She looked out the window at the dark space between the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vorn were coming. And somewhere else, on a small blue planet, the humans waited. The galaxy had never been so afraid. The Galaxy Council faltered. Their only plea was, don't involve Earth, Part 2, the Great. Chamber had never been so divided. Representatives shouted at each other. Some cried. Others sat in stunned silence. The word Earth had broken something in them. It was as if someone had suggested walking into fire to escape the rain. Elder Taiho raised his hands for silence. It took several minutes before the chamber grew quiet. His old face was troubled. He had hoped to never hear that name spoken in these halls again. I understand, he said slowly. I understand why some of you think of Earth. We are desperate. We are afraid. But we must remember why we made the rules we did. Why we chose to never contact the humans. Ambassador Yuna stood up. Elder, with respect, perhaps those who do not know the history should be told. Not everyone here is old enough to remember. Taiho nodded. He walked to the center of the chamber and activated the historical display. Images began to appear in the air above him. Images that made some representatives look away. 200 years ago, Taiho began, our scouts first discovered Earth. It was a small planet. Blue and green and beautiful. We thought we had found a new friend for our galaxy. The images showed a peaceful world from space. Oceans and forests and mountains. We sent a greeting ship. A small vessel with translators and gifts. We wanted to welcome the humans to the greater galaxy. The next image showed a ship in flames, falling through clouds. They shot it down, Taiho said. Without warning. Without communication. They simply destroyed it. Jisoo gasped. Why would they do that? Taiho switched to the next image. It showed human soldiers fighting each other. cities on fire, weapons that could destroy entire regions in a single blast. Because they were at war with each other. The humans were always at war. When we arrived, two great nations on their planet were fighting. They thought our ship was an enemy weapon, so they destroyed it. The images continued. War after war, conflict after conflict. The history of Earth was written in blood and fire. We tried again, Taiho continued. We sent a second ship, this time with clearer signals. Peaceful messages in every language we could find. The humans received our messages. They understood we came in peace. What happened? Asked a young representative. Taiho's voice grew dark. They captured the ship. They took our technology. They studied our crew like animals in a cage. When we sent a third ship to negotiate their release, the humans had already used our technology to build weapons. Better weapons. Weapons they used against each other in their next war. The chamber was silent. Some representatives were crying softly. We made a decision then, Taiho said. We would never contact Earth again. We would stay away from their sector. We would let them destroy themselves, as we believed they eventually would. It was the safest choice. The only choice. Translator Bora stood up again. Her voice was calm, but strong. Elder Taiho speaks the truth about what happened 200 years ago. But much has changed since then. Changed. Taiho turned to look at her. The humans still fight. They still make war. Our long-range scanners show they have now spread to other planets in their system. They have built ships that can travel between stars. And they have weapons that make our greatest technology look like children's toys. Bora nodded. Yes, all of this is true. But consider what else is true, Elder. In 200 years, despite their wars, despite their violence, the humans have not destroyed themselves. They have grown stronger. They have spread further. They have built things we cannot understand. She walked to the center of the chamber. All eyes followed her. We are dying, Elder. The Vorn will be here in 3 days. We have no ships, no weapons, no hope. We can sit here and wait for death, or we can ask for help from the only species in the galaxy that might be strong enough to save us. Representative Jisoo stood up. But if the humans are so violent, why would they help us? Why would they not simply let the Vorn destroy us and then attack the Vorn themselves? Or worse, attack both of us? Bora smiled sadly. I do not know. I cannot promise anything. But I know this much. The humans are strange creatures. They fight and kill and destroy. But they also protect. They protect their families, their friends, even strangers sometimes. There are stories of humans risking their lives for people they have never met, diving into burning buildings, standing in front of weapons, giving their food to the hungry and their homes to the homeless. Stories, Taiho said. Just stories. Perhaps, Bora replied. But we have nothing else. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued that contacting Earth was too dangerous. Others said it was their only hope. Old wounds were opened. Old fears were spoken aloud. Finally, Taiho called for a vote. All those who believe we should contact Earth, raise your hands. Yuna looked around the chamber. Slowly, hands began to rise. Jisoo's hand went up first, then others. One by one, the representatives voted. Some kept their hands down. Some left the chamber entirely, refusing to be part of what they saw as madness. When the count was finished, Taiho stood in silence for a long moment. His face showed no emotion, but his hands trembled slightly. The vote is decided, he said at last. We will contact Earth. Yuna felt her hearts racing. This was it. This was really happening. I will send the message myself, she said. I speak their language. I have studied their history. If anyone can convince them to help us, it might be me." Taiho looked at her. His old eyes were full of worry. "Ambassador, you understand what you are doing? If this goes wrong, if the humans decide to attack instead of help, we will have brought a second enemy to our door." Yuna nodded. "I understand. But as Bora said, we have nothing else." The chamber emptied slowly. Representatives returned to their quarters to pray to whatever gods they believed in. Some began preparing evacuation ships, hoping to escape before the Vorn arrived. Others simply sat and waited for the end. Yuna went to the communication center. It was a small room filled with equipment that could send messages across the galaxy in seconds. She sat down at the main console and began recording. "People of Earth," she said. Her voice was steady, though her hands shook. "My name is Ambassador Yuna. I speak for the Galaxy Council and for 12 civilizations that face destruction. We come to you not as conquerors or enemies, but as desperate souls asking for help." She told them about the Vorn, about the worlds that had fallen, about the fleet that had been destroyed. She told them that the Council had no more ships, no more soldiers, no more hope. "We know that we have not always been fair to your people. We know that we have avoided you and feared you. But we are asking now, with humility and honesty, for your help. If you can hear this message, please respond. Please come. Please save us." She finished the recording and sent it toward Earth. The signal would take several hours to arrive. She had no idea if anyone would even listen. She had no idea if the humans would care. Yuna sat in the communications room and waited. Outside, the stars continued to shine, unaware of the darkness coming toward them. Somewhere far away on a small blue planet, a receiver began to beep.